Hello everybody. On July 7th, 2025, shortly after the launch of the new console, the Nintendo Switch 2, mysterious footage of games appearing to run on a modified Switch 1 emulator began appearing online. Shortly after news of this broke, I could tell something was up and I began researching this. The following day, after I began my research, the news hit the mainstream media of this supposed Switch 2 emulator. Within 24 hours, the supposed developers had already ceased work on it. What I found, before they even announced this project publicly, might not come as a shock at all, but this supposed groundbreaking console launch window emulator was a total hoax. Hello everybody, Easy on the Eyes here, and in today's video, I will be going over the recent hoax that rocked the gaming scene, how it works behind the front end, and what exactly is this piece of potential malware being circulated online. Join me as we explore Axiom and other programs like it, as the most recent fraudulent emulators making news. For those who don't know my history, I'm a semi-retired Nintendo Switch modder. I've made games and projects for the Nintendo Switch and worked with friends researching it for several years, but I still help out when big or interesting news comes out. In this video, I will be presenting how this program works in a way that even someone unfamiliar with emulation can understand. Without any more delays, let's get started. For clarity's sake, this video is not intended to promote or endorse piracy or illegal console modifications or hacks of any kind. Emulation is under a gray area of the law, and this video is entirely made for educational purposes. No direct links or instructions on copyright infringement or obtaining illicit games are shown here. Under YouTube's terms of service and creator policy, the discussion of this topic without direct instruction is permitted. Under US law, all actions here are permitted. Do not attempt to recreate this at home for your security and safety. This channel does not condone, support, or endorse piracy of any kind. Please support official releases. Special thanks to Will Faust Cuber, Zero Kimchi, GodPal, and Stassi11 in help with the research. Before we understand how this fake program works, we should have a basic understanding of how the real program it's based off operates. Ryujinx was a Nintendo Switch emulator in development by a community team for years. In the time I've witnessed it develop, I've seen it grow from not having a user interface and struggling to launch games, to now having wide compatibility and support for many systems, including Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, and Android, with the mobile ports being after cessation. This program works by taking a game and reading the game through an emulated Nintendo operating system. The official Nintendo Switch operating system is known as Horizon OS. Using this emulated system, it allows the games to be played. In order to do this, legitimate Nintendo firmware from the Switch is required to run your games. Along with this, a piece of code that is basically a long, encrypted text file is needed to act as an in-between to give the Ryujinx program the ability to run games. To put it simply, firmware and keys act as a required bridge to allow the program to read your games. That is a layperson and incredibly simple way to describe it, and there's a lot more technical nuance to the backend and behind the scenes that's not very relevant to this video. In order to get to this point, it took hundreds of researchers from different communities across the globe, months of research, before they were even able to hack their Switches in order to move the games off of them. Now, in the case of Axiom, how is it that 1 month after the release of the Switch 2, a console with very little research and no cartridge dumping exploits, an emulator is able to be running the newest titles? Is there some secret cartridge dumping technique that they discovered? How did they know what modifications to apply to firmware to boot games? How is it a modified Switch 1 emulator, missing undocumented services for the Switch 2, is able to launch titles? This just doesn't seem like it should be possible. And that's because, well, it's not possible. Axiom works by modifying Ryujinx and injecting a fraudulent video player. By doing some hilariously primitive line edits and checks, they've designed it to only open XCI files with a specifically formatted name. To help give the illusion of this being legitimate, they also release fake files of Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges. These modified files contain massive amounts of junk data and do not actually contain the advertised game. When a file with this specific name check is run, it will display a faked video, followed by freezing and intentionally erroring out and crashing. But why would somebody go through all the trouble of faking so much and doing it so sloppily? Let's break this down. What should be understood first is just how dangerous this app is. Within the Axiom DLL file, you will find a Win32 Trojan, specifically a common one used in mass botnet attacks on unsuspecting users. For this reason, I need to reiterate again, do not install or run Axiom. It is a security risk. On top of this, the code of the actual program are very elementary. What interests me is that it's not a hash check for SHA, but it's only a file name check. If you wish to understand this difference, I recommend researching it. But this means any XCI file renamed to the specific name it's checking for will pass the check. Simply checking for a file name instead of the SHA signature means that this was very easy to debunk. Once it checks the file, if it is Mario Kart, it will run a fake video and then crash. If it's any other file name, the program errors and fails to boot the video. In order to initialize and spoof the Ryujinx processes, the program will trick Ryujinx services into appearing and initializing Splatoon 2. So, the point of the executable itself is to inject a backdoor into your PC and put the user at risk. It should be reiterated, these are not false flags, as it appears with the same flags across numerous security vendors. Normally if there's a false flag, it may be 1 or 2 flags across the board. However, in this instance, regular Ryujinx has 0 false flags, while this modified fork sets off 5 flags. When attempting to analyze the supposed game cartridges themselves in the program analysis tool Yanu, yet another NSP updater, we start to encounter issues on converting files so we can extract and view their contents. When attempting to convert these XCIs into NSPs, the needed format for proper extraction to view the inside of a cartridge, we receive an error from Yanu. Upon reading the logs, we can see it's a hack tool error. More specifically, I got an invalid header error. To double check, I converted and extracted another working Switch game in Yanu, and was successful in both steps. This hack tool and header error means the XCIs distributed are so corrupted they can't even be converted or read. The one piece of credit that I will give to the hoaxers is that they actually inflated the file sizes to what Nintendo lists them as on the official website. According to the minimal amount of system documentation that we do have, the Switch 2 does reuse the Switch 1's XCI and NSP format. And according to data I've previously handled in regards to this system, this is true. However, due to Nintendo's new DRM and virtual cartridge practices, it is very unlikely that we will see legitimate dumps of Nintendo Switch 2 games for a long period of time. As for the modified firmware and keys, considering we still don't know what services the NS2 has that the NS1 does not, this all seems very far-fetched. Even stubbing, or the process of truncating and cutting off, services that would break, is not enough to make it work, as there's confirmed required services for the Switch 2, not in the prior console. Being able to retool something with no documentation this quickly seems suspicious from the start. You would have to be one of the greatest programmers alive to do something like this single-handedly and this fast. As for the keys, the program works the same way with the latest Switch 1 keys. This makes no sense on a base level, as Switch 1 keys store data for titles on the original Switch, not titles on the Switch 2. This is another obviously suspicious point. So, with all that said, why would somebody go through all this hassle and still leave a breadcrumb trail of incrimination? There's a few reasons, and all can be more or less true at the same time. There's the obvious malware injection. There's no easier way to spread your Trojans to unsuspecting users than to play off a hype train. This is seen a lot in software, especially for unreleased media like games. Another reason is that trolling is very widespread in the Nintendo homebrew community. In the weeks leading up to Tears of the Kingdom's official release, the game was leaked due to retail employees breaking street dates. A widespread, fake copy of the game's files was spread around and taken at face value. But once you actually tried to play it, you received a Spanish-speaking video of Ganondorf trolling the player. My point being, spreading trolls and jokes is common in this community. My final thought process relates to the last one, but it's about bragging rights and clout. While I don't want to comment on others' maturity, I do believe the writing style in the code and announcements make me believe that this is someone younger working on this. Some people like to brag to others about how they were able to trick people, and a mass spread troll is the best way to do that. Update, July 24th. It appears my foreshadowing of future emulators was not unfounded, as the creators of Axiom have resurfaced with a new Hoax emulator named Hassuka. More interesting than that, however, is that I got an exclusive interview with the person behind the original Axiom and Ryujinx 2 Hoax footage. I'm partially happy this video has taken so long to create, because I'm pleased to add additional, exclusive info about how this was conceived, what I got right, and what to look out for going forward. On July 23, 2025, a Twitter account named Hassuka Emulator published footage that was suspiciously similar to how Axiom operated. I decided this time I'd go undercover to not attract attention. As my brand new alternate account, I asked some pretty hard-hitting questions about the backend, including how they knew which services to stub or how to correctly edit them, how they were able to dump Switch games, and why we never saw the terminal in their example footage. It was clear to me that this was another hoax from the beginning, but I wanted to waste some time and try to back them into a corner. After a few back and forths with the server owner / supposed dev, I could clearly see I was being trolled. After the fact, a surprising direct message came my way. The person who created the initial footage used in the hoax for Axiom. They were surprisingly willing to talk to me, so long as they remained anonymous. I verified they were the person they say they were, and we began discussions. The following is transcripts from our conversation. Special thanks to literally Anna for providing the voice of this anon developer.
But yeah, it is just a troll. I was the one who filmed the footage that was used.
I figured. Thank you for confirming.
As for why, just because it's silly. It's actually the same people from Axiom.
The mention in my video will be short because you were honest here.
Last time I made a ROM CDN which random pipes you stuff and starts fast and then slows down and eventually stops and makes you redo it. Like 2,000 people tried to download Mario Kart World.
So, if that's the case, can I ask you about how Axiom worked on your end? I spent 2 days researching, including before when Mr. Sujano broke the news, and I want to cross-check what I'd figured versus what you guys did. Researching isn't actually breaking down the ROMs in Yanu and checking the code itself, and the fact those DLLs set off Trojans.
I never actually ran Axiom, but I believe it was just something video player and it made pride flags randomly appear. I don't think it was a virus. Also, I was responsible for the Ryujinx 2 thing. I made that.
Axiom DLL sets off 5 flags on virus total, including a bunch of Trojans.
I actually made a valid Switch 1 XCI, which displays a pre-made video from ROM-FS. You could run it on a regular Ryujinx 2. I made it to troll people in the Pound Emulator server originally.
I tried opening it, and it had a broken NCA header and hack tool errors opening in Yanu.
I never shared my XCI, so it was basically just random data.
Yes, my friends and I checked this day one. Then I'm surprised at what was sent around.
I can send that actually. It's 15 megabytes.
I'd be willing to check.
And to make it 24 gigabytes, I just bloated it with zeros at the end. One second, let me boot up my laptop.
So it's basically Ganon Troll 2.0 but smaller then, and the video is hosted elsewhere.
Basically, you can just run it on any Switch 1 emulator and put test.mp4 into your virtual SD card folder. It should play that while running at 25 to 30 FPS. If you put test.mp4 in the emulator's virtual SD card folder, it'll play that. They're both the same thing, just packaged differently on the outside.
While I have you here, it's cool to show censored contents of our chats in the video, right?
I guess though, when will it be released? I can even send the videos I used.
That would be awesome, and thanks for permission.
The game wasn't even out yet, so I just got the treehouse footage for that one, lol, so it didn't look nearly as real. I do have an actual Switch 2, lol, I played through Donkey Kong Bonanza already. Also, Axiom is not Ryujinx 2. Ryujinx 2 was my thing. Axiom is a separate app that's not Ryujinx. And it was just playing a video but not inside Ryujinx. It literally just had a Mario Kart World button, lol, so you can make that in like 10 minutes in Python even.
Oh, alright. So yeah, because we were researching Axiom, I thought for the last few you did Axiom. We figured out any file name to the file check names would run the video, which is what my video breaks down.
It shouldn't have been ratted though, but I never ran it so I can't say anything. This was in the private chat. If I recall correctly, Axiom was like C#.
I'm confused why the DLL sets off virus flags though.
You could decompile that.
Someone has. I tried decomping the Axiom games.
Do you have a download for Axiom app?
I finally fully purged recently. I can check for links in a few. I was breaking it down in a safe from junk PC environment, and I purged all data afterwards.
Because I don't have the app pulled. I've been doing RE for 5 years, so I could take a look if you gave me.
Let me check for the link in a bit.
They probably made it in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, considering it's a video player hooked into Ryu front end.
No, Axiom is not hooked into Ryu frontend, lol.
Now I'm getting confused because the original Axiom faked video showed it as C Ryujinx Project Splatoon 2 in a terminal to do the hoax. I know you were saying your thing is separate.
Axiom is a standalone app. The Ryujinx 2 thing was me. Yeah, those were my videos. Those were meant to show Ryujinx 2, not Axiom. And C Splatoon 2 Projects SDK Ryujinx was the build directory for a custom build of Ryujinx I made. The only reason I made it was to change the firmware version to 20.1.5, because I'm lazy. But we went with the trope that Ryujinx 2 is collaborating with Axiom, and kinda used the videos interchangeably. This was their video, but again, this one was literally just to change the version thingy in bottom right corner, which was sent in the 2 fake Ryujinx videos.
So, you just rewrote in a project directory that you already made, but spoofed it for the fake firmware? Gotcha.
So basically, in the end, the full story, the emulator appears. The devs clearly don't know the fuck they're doing. I decided to troll and made Ryujinx 2 Mario Kart World video by making an XDI.plays video. Then pretend to ask in server for help about Mario Kart World not working. The only reason there's a custom Ryujinx field is because I wanted to change the firmware version number in the bottom right corner. The video spreads and stuff for some reason. I get banned from eventually, and Axiom invites me to troll together. They had posted the theater video by that point. We pretend Ryujinx 2 and Axiom collaborated. They post some new fake Axiom videos while I post a Donkey Kong Bonanza Ryujinx 2 video. I post a fake CDN which has Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is just sending you random data and then cancelling download at about 60 or 80% and making you redo it. They post a build of Axiom, not Ryujinx, which is just a video play. Then it shuts down a few days later. And I believe the original reason for Axiom was to troll the anti-woke piracy people on Twitter by putting in the pride flags and stuff.
Alright, thanks for the full story and background details. I guess I have 2 questions at the moment. So you don't know anything about the virus total flags Axiom sets off? It's like 250 to 500% more than a typical false flag, and base Ryujinx had 0. And is the Axiom dev still attempting to troll people with fake emus to this day? Politics aside, this just has bad ramifications for the legitimacy of emulation as a whole. It's bad optics, in my opinion.
Axiom is not using Ryujinx as base, it's a separate thing, and I can't say for sure actually. I did ask in the private chat where all the trolls were and they said it's not ratted, but I can have a look if you gave me the build. I haven't seen the source code for it. Hasaku is basically Axiom Part 2, lol. As for this, I don't know, maybe I went too far originally. I just wanted to troll a bit in server with the Ryujinx 2 Mario Kart World video, but then when I got banned, I got invited, and I got like trolling people. I had a look and it doesn't seem like it's a virus. The reason it flags is likely because it's editing Windows registry to run the gay flag program on Windows boot up. The program in question takes the zip, which I sent and extracts it, then adds it to Windows registry launchpad, while this one does just show a random gay flag. And then there's 100 megabytes padding to make the file big to seem like a real emulator. There's also this video. I think it might be corrupted intentionally.
Which, once again, is bad optics but not intentionally malicious. Just a nuisance. These parts are still suspicious and not quite cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I was just thinking it does it while it's running. Not edits Windows registry, but well, at least it wasn't a rat.
So the flag was accurate but not as a Trojan, but for other reasons.
I think antivirus would logically be pretty suspicious if it sees it extracting a zip and then running an exe from it to Windows registry.
I've seen it be more suspicious for less reasons. Thank you to the anonymous developer for doing this interview, and thank you to literally Anna for voicing them. Given the new information in that interview from the Hoax creator, let's compare the previous findings and inferences to their admissions. Unsurprisingly, a lot of this still held up. The biggest piece of news was learning that the footage was created with a separate program entirely, and the creator of that was unaware of the registry editing from the distributed program. The fact that it simply runs the test video shows that people researching this before were correct in their thinking. Unlike what we thought before though, you don't need to replace the whole XCI, you can replace the test MP4. Thanks to this interview, it does also confirm the creator of Axiom was doing it specifically to troll people, and our findings within the code were correct. They are also still attempting to troll people as well, rebranding this hoax under new names. The reasoning Splatoon 2 was shown in the terminal was because the author repurposed another mod they were creating, and used the same project space for the file path. My initial thoughts that the redistributed Axiom app were Ryujinx based were slightly incorrect. The recorded footage shown was Ryujinx based. However, there was a separate program redistributed that was written in C#. The intent of the Windows registry edits were supposedly not for a remote backdoor, but rather to be a nuisance. This is technically still a type of malware, however a minor one. I would not suggest running this even for research. This interview also gives us the exact footage used to fake the game windows in these recorded hoaxes. With all this new information, I'll proceed back to the original outro. Thanks again to the anonymous developer for doing this interview. But what do you think? Do you think this was all done just to spread malware? Or do you think it was done for clout and to make trolls laugh? Or maybe you have another idea. Feel free to share it in the comments down below. I hope you have all enjoyed this examination of one of the most popular recent fakes in memory. If you found it informative or entertaining, maybe leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, or check out my other videos. Be sure to share this video with your friends who might be interesting to spread awareness. And remember, don't always fall for the fakes. Thank you all for watching, stay safe and watch out for the scam projects, and remember to enjoy your games.